to look back at this.
How does he maintain possession?
Jenkins, and that definitely was a little helmet-to-helmet on that hit.
Guys, Meredith Gorman here, and are you still not subscribed to Matt's channel? Well, if you're not, hit the subscribe button because he's giving out free picks each and every week. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
NFL Week 2 is here, guys. We saw some good games, some upsets in Week 1 like we always do. Teams still trying to find their rhythm, find their game. Hopefully we see some better play from teams this week. I'll be breaking down 3 games like usual, guys. One, the Monday nighter like always, which is the Eagles and Falcons this Monday in Philadelphia. I'll also look at 2 other big games of the week. I always talk to big games. We got Bengals at Chiefs. Oh, the Bengals. Can't wait to talk about them. And we'll talk the Lions versus Bucks rematch from the playoffs. Of course, the teaser and underdog options for you guys. My favorite this week, which cashed last week. So if you listened to last week, I think we got everything right? Even the breakdown games, I'm breaking them more down, more leans. But everything right last week. Hopefully you guys are tailing, right? There's long-term success here in the NFL. Dallas was the underdog outright. Easy win there with them. 2 teaser bets I gave out as well. Hit Tampa was added for clients. We got that at plus 120. So nice hit there. But it's week 1, so it didn't go without a bad beat or without a loss or 2, right? So I did get caught by the Texans. We had Texans minus 2.5, right? Tough beat there. They win by 2. You always look, the odds of it falling, you look at the money line, right? Money line on the Texans was around minus 150. And then you look at the spread, minus 110, 2.5. The odds that it lands in that 1 to 2 is low, right? The odds are low. So you usually will take that 2.5. If you start seeing a 3, 3.5, then yeah, you may want to stay away from that. But when you see that 2.5, the odds of them winning just between that margin of 2 and 1 is very low. Right? And then the reason it happened is they went for a 2-point conversion and they missed it. So, that's a bad beat, right? That's what I call a bad beat, a tough beat like that. You're on the right team, right? Texans were up 11 in that game in the late third quarter. So, Texans obviously the better team. Richardson hit some big throws down the field, which I was surprised about of the Houston secondary. They're going to have to take a look at that. So that's pretty much how they covered due to some big throws to Pierce, 2 big throws to Pierce, and he was able to move down the field quickly with those. The Pats, right? I think most people had Pats graded, in power ranks bottom 3 of the league. Nothing really shocking about that, right? But I had the maybe almost 0% chance of going in the Bengals and winning that game. Now, I probably should have looked at it a little closer. I do know the Bengals struggle in week 1 or early on in the season previous time. So, I look at it like, let's start good this year. But Higgins out, that was a little bit of an issue. Burrow did not play well. I thought Burrow would play a lot better than he did. I think he only had like 160-yard passing. We'll talk about it more here in the KC game. But, you don't expect them to come out that flat out of the gate. Chase was in there. He got some targets, had a decent game, but not good enough. The issue was the turnovers, right? They turned the ball over twice. It wasn't like New England played outstanding. Now, they played good defense, and we kind of knew that, but they were going to struggle to score points. They still did struggle to score points. They ran the ball well, didn't turn the ball over. Bengals turned the ball over twice, one in their own red zone. That's pretty much how they lost the game, right? They turned the ball over, and you can't turn the ball over to win games, right? Tough there. And, I probably should have stayed away from any action on the Bengals last week. We did have the under in the Chiefs-Ravens game on the Thursday. We cashed that by a toe, right? Likely did not get in the end zone. So that did get under the 47.5. Just an up and down week 1. Week 1 usually is, right? Week 1 is kind of a crapshoot. I start getting a good feeling, a few weeks in, start learning the teams a little better. Nice week on the podcast. Hopefully you did tail those. Let's hear from my friend Kristen before we get into this week's breakdowns.
For you sports bettors out there, let's be honest, you probably need a little bit of help beating those books. System capping is a proven long-term winner against the sports betting market in multiple sports. He's built a worldwide clientele due to his high winning percentage over the years. Be sure to click the link on the bio down here to check out his profile, and you can also find out his resume, client comments, podcasts, and subscription opportunities. I'm going to be following him along too, so let's win some money together this season.
Let's get into it, guys. Let's get into the first breakdown here. It is the Bucks at Lions. Should be a fun one. Lions -7, total 51.5. The rematch from round 1 of the playoffs, right? The Bucks went to Detroit last year, lost by a TD. So we see that TD spread again, right? The Lions covered last week, but it took them OT to do so. I was on the Lions in the teaser market. Got them at I think it was +3.5. Easy win there on them. But yeah, they didn't have their best stuff is what I like to say. And that's what I say week 1, right? You're not going to be clicking on all cylinders for most teams. Some teams will. The Bucks, we'll talk about here shortly. The Lions didn't have their A stuff. But in the end, they just ran Montgomery down their throats to win that game in OT. D looked pretty good, though. I like what I see from the D. I do think that Lions defense will be better this year. Bucks easy win, right, in Tampa Bay. I was on them as well in the teaser market. But how good were they, or how bad is Washington? That's a tough thing to call, right? Washington's defense is poor. We know that. So I don't overreact too much. But I know this Tampa Bay offense can be good if Baker Mayfield's playing like how he did, right? And he played great in that game. Played great. Right, I expect Tampa Bay again to most likely win that division unless Atlanta looked bad in week 1. Can they get better? Sure, but I expect the Bucks probably to win that division. It'll be a battle, I guess, between Atlanta. I don't think the Saints are as good as we saw in week 1, but you never know. This game was high scoring last year. We saw it get over this 51.5. That's why we're seeing this total 51. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets over this number. I'm not an over better. Usually when I hit on totals, it's usually under. I usually have about a total a week for clients. This week I may pass on the totals. I have one I'm looking at watching to see if it moves. But yeah, I'm an under better. Now, again, I wouldn't be surprised with these two offenses it gets over. But Lions defense has improved. They showed it against Stafford last week. So keep that in mind here, right? It's possible, the Bucs offense isn't clicking on all cylinders because the defense is a lot better than Washington's. So just keep that in mind here for you total bettors. The Lions offense is just so balanced. I think it's the best offense in the NFL from a balanced standpoint, right? You have the best running back duel, in my opinion, Gibbs and Montgomery, right? Montgomery proved that in overtime last week. He basically won the game for them in overtime. Bunch of carries, touchdown at the end. Impressive. And then you got Gibbs, who's just a dual threat. Could catch out of the backfield, could run as well. Best duel, definitely running back duel in the NFL. Then you just got the weapons on the outside as well. St. Brown, one of the best wide receivers, especially possession wide receiver in the NFL. One of the best tight ends in Laporte in the NFL. And I love what I saw from Williams, right? Williams proved that he'll probably be that next breakout candidate for his team, like we saw Laporte in his rookie season. Williams over 100 yards last week and a touchdown as well. And he just has that speed to burn you, right? He has that. Like, Brown's really not a burner down threat guy. He's more of a possession guy. He can go in and out and in the slot. And Williams could be that burner. So I think it's just their offense is just perfectly set up for Goff, right? It's not like the Goff's best quarterback in the world. He's just, the offense is so good. There's so many weapons around him that you cannot be good. Right? A lot of QBs would have success in this offense. Let's be honest here. Bucs D will need to try to slow down this offense. It's going to be tough. We saw them against a rookie QB, but it's just night and day difference, right? Night and day difference. It'll be interesting to see if they run a lot in this game because Bucs did struggle versus the run a bit last week. So we could see maybe the Lions slowing the game down a bit. right? And that's where that total could get a little scary if the Lions decide to just run the ball a ton, right? 7 points. 7 points is a lot. 7 points is a lot. I even see a few 7.5s out there. If you can get a 7.5, I would lean and take the Bucks here at 7.5. It's a lot of points for early in the season, in my opinion. We saw the Bucks come out guns a-blazing in the first game. They look great. Again, Washington, I get it, but 7.5 is a lot of points. A little revenge spot from the playoffs as well. The Lions should win this game, right? I expect the Lions to win this game. I do have them in a money line parlay this week, but Bucks hang around, would not be surprised. Bengals at Chiefs. Chiefs -6, total 48. Trouble already for the Bengals. We talked about it at the top here. You lose your opener to a team you should beat. You're better everywhere. Maybe besides defense. I'll give them that. But you should have been a lot better in that game playing at home. You can't lose your opener like that to a team that's graded, much below average, and most people have them below 3, right? Bottom 3 teams in the NFL. You can't turn the ball over. Doesn't get much easier here, guys. Maybe the toughest place to play, Arrowhead, right? Toughest place to play. They could easily start 0-2 here, right? No Higgins, I believe. I don't think he practiced all week, so I don't expect him to just play. Chase, still no contract. Some concerns there. He's going to play. He's playing through it. I heard they offered him a 4-year, 140. I don't know if that's accurate. That wasn't a legit source, but I did see that. So keep that in mind. A few concerns with the Bengals after week 1 and how they play. Chiefs obviously won their home opener by a toe, I like to say, right? Likely out of bounds there. Game would have went to overtime and they could have gone for 2. Chiefs were the better team throughout, though. They made the bigger splash plays. Mahomes was better than Lamar, even though Lamar ran all over them. The Ravens just continue to struggle against the Chiefs. Lamar's record against KC is terrible as well. You expect Mahomes to have that same success as he did last week. Passer rating over 100. He threw for 291. And this secondary in Cincinnati is not good. Mahomes over in passing yards is definitely a look. But they could run the ball a lot here with Pacheco. I've been looking at the Pacheco props. It's around 60. That gets a little scary. However, Stevenson ran all over them, right? Pats was able to run all over Bengals last week, over 100 yards. So, you can see a big game from Pacheco here. He didn't have a good game against the Ravens, so they could feature him more here, especially if the Chiefs are up, right? Chiefs are up, you can see Pacheco getting a lot of work down the stretch. So I do think that's a fairly good prop bet if you can get that at a good price on Pacheco. Burrow. Let's some of his numbers here. Obviously the lack of weapons seems to be hurting him a little bit. 164 yards, that was unacceptable. Sacked 3 times. And we know that O-line. It's been issues. Apparently they upgraded it. It didn't look great last week. It's going to be music for Chris Jones and that KC line. Music to their ears is what they say. And, you expect KC to get in there, disrupt Burrows, and no problem, for Chiefs to win this game. I don't love that 6. We could see a better effort from Bengals to hang around. Another thing I want to mention here, the Bengals run game. Really not sold on Zach Moss. Obviously he had a poor game last week, only 44 yards. They got to try to get that going because I do think that's how you could beat the Chiefs, run on them. Obviously Lamar's different. Lamar was able to run on them, but they got to try to get Moss going. You got to be able to run on this team. They are fairly good in the secondary. I'd be a bit surprised if the Chiefs lost this game. We could see a better Bengals effort, right? But go into KC looking how you did in week 1 and win the game. I don't see it. So I like the Chiefs here. You can look at them, teaser markets, money line markets. Do I love -6? No. Are you ever really in love with a spread? I would say a handful of times in the season. But you're always taking that chance when you're betting spreads, right? The Chiefs could, win a close game. Bengals have played the Chiefs well before in the past. Obviously, they had that win in the playoffs a few years ago. So I wouldn't be surprised if they hang around. I would be surprised if Bengals win outright, though. Monday Nighter, guys. Falcons at Eagles. We got a total 6.5 on the Eagles, total 47. Eagles are back. Back home, guys. After that trip to Brazil. Keep that in mind. How are they going to, handle that travel? Now, they had an extra few days off. I don't think it's a big deal. So some people could make it out to be a big deal. It's not a short week. It's a longer week. It's a Monday night. Remember, that game was on Friday. It's only an hour difference, time difference as well, right? It's not like Europe. You go, it's like 6-8 hours, whatever it is, right? There's no big time difference. So it's just the travel. It's a long flight, of course, right? But I don't think it's going to be a huge issue. You're at home in front of your fans. You expect the Eagles to at least win the game, right? Cousins. Let's talk about Cousins. We won't see... Cousins at least won't see that tough defense in the Steelers. Right? Won't see Watt coming out. Watt was all over the place, always disrupting the quarterback. I always say he's the best money spent. TJ Watt. He does so much. Now, he does get injured quite a bit, but even he's not getting the sack, he's just factoring in with his QB pressure. Best money you can spend on a rusher like that. Just disrupts the game so much, guys. So much. I expect a little better performance from Cousins here. He was poor. 155 yards in the first game. Right, couple interceptions. Penix Jr. chance could be coming in soon, guys. If he continues to be bad. You know what, also, something, I do expect him to be better, but keep in mind, Cousins' record in primetime games is terrible. Keep that in mind. Even though I do expect him to definitely throw over this 155 yards. The interceptions I can't comment on. He might still throw an interception or two, but I expect him to be able to have a little more success on this Eagles secondary. Love what I saw from this offense from the Eagles. They're going to be very scary to play against, especially if Barkley can stay healthy. Right? What a debut from him. You guys all know. Unless you're living under a rock. 3 TDs, 109 on the ground, 24 attempts. They're featuring him. And if that offense could stay balanced with Barkley, you obviously got solid wide receivers, Brown, Smith, etc. And then Hurts. Hurts didn't have a great game. I'll talk about it here shortly. But he also is that threat to run. Right? So it's just very balanced. Similar to the Ravens offense. It's similar, right? Obviously, Lamar Jackson is a better runner than Hurts, but it's similar, and they don't have that A.J. Brown type. But I'm just saying the structure of the system, right? You got that threat to run. You can throw downfield as well. Hurts started slow in the game, right? He had 2 interceptions on the day and a lost fumble. Not good numbers, but he settled in, right? Got Barkley going, but he still threw for 278 yards. Now, I know a few of them were because it was long throws, right? I think Brown had like a 60 or 70 yard catch. So obviously that adds up, right? When you get big plays like that, it makes your numbers look better than they were. But 278, 2 TDs, passer rate not great, 80, but Hurts is kind of what will drive this team and how far this team could go. Barkley could only do so much, right? You can stack the box. If Hurts is struggling in games, this team could struggle overall. And we know the Eagles' defense is questionable, right? I don't see the Eagles' defense ever winning them a game, right? Like some teams could, like Steelers. The reason why they beat Atlanta was because their defense. They shut down the Falcons. They did not score a touchdown in that game and won the game. And it was because of their defense. I don't see the Eagles ever winning a game because of their defense, right? It could help them to win games, but they're not going to win 15-10 game. Right? It's just not going to happen with them, right? They allowed 29 points last week. Even though Love did not have a crazy game, I think they actually played decently in the secondary. But they got ran all over, right? Jacobs, 163 yards on the ground at TD, right? So they're going to either, remember, last year they were one of the worst defensive teams. Points allowed, I think. Passing yards allowed. It was bad. So we got to keep that in mind. I know they drafted the first overall, well, first round at least, Mitchell, to help in the secondary, and he looked like he had a good game. So we do got to watch that. But yeah, the Eagles' defense is the question from game to game. So I do expect Atlanta to have some more success here. And that's why I can see, this game getting over that number of 47. Right? You expect the Eagles in the 20s, maybe 30, if they're clicking on all cylinders. And I expect the Falcons to be low 20s. Right? Low 20s. So that over 47 could be a lean bet this weekend. Some props to look at. Cousins low, like 220 passing yards. You expect, Atlanta probably to be down in this game and they have to throw. So that's an interesting over there. And you expect him to bounce back. I'm not going to say his job is on the line, but after a poor performance, Steelers defense, Eagles defense, a little different, right? So I expect Cousins to have a little more success. And we could see Bijan featured a little more, on the ground. Right now you're just seeing 60. Problem with Bijan and problem with his props, you see 63 on rushing, but he catches out of the backfield a lot, right? So one game he could just rush more. One game he could be catching out of the backfield. I like to stay away from Bijan props. Now you can do all-purpose yards, but then you're starting to look in the high 90s, hundreds. And that's where you kind of get worried, right? So I'd lean the Cousin prop over in passing yards. I expect him to have a little success in the passing game. Let's get into the teaser options and underdogs of the week. Underdogs, don't love any underdogs really this week, guys. Dallas, I liked last week. We'll get to that shortly. Teaser, 7-point teaser. I give you out my 2 favorite of the week. For clients, I get a 3-team teaser plus money. I have 1 pending this week. Gave out 2 last week, Houston and Detroit. No concerns there. The Lions won by 6. Houston won, and we got them. I think Lions was plus 3.5. Houston plus 4.5. So good start there. Hopefully you are tailing. I had a couple guys reach out to me saying they did. A lot of people don't reach out. I know some listen and watch. A lot more listeners on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so thanks for that. Even though the numbers go down on YouTube, I don't care. It's whoever, just listen. If you're listening, I'm happy, right? So thanks for that, guys. This week, Ravens -2, 2.5. I'm all over the Ravens this week. This is a perfect. You can't get a better bounce back spot at home. You got Ed Reed. You got Ray Lewis in the building. Home opener. Raiders are poor. Ravens -2. They're definitely going to win this game. I expect them to probably win this game by a touchdown or more. So Ravens -2 is a no-brainer. And then there's a lot of other options out there, right? Right. I mentioned it here. Lions on the money line. That's a great option. You can go back to Houston on the money line as well. Bunch of options there. I expect Caleb Williams to struggle in Houston, rookie QB. So there's a couple. I'm giving you more than 2 guys, but play the Lions on the money line. I think they'll be better than they were last week, which is trouble for the Bucs. Underdogs. Dallas last week, and it was a blowout. Nice winner there. Can we do it again with the plus money underdogs? And I mentioned, guys, I'm always straightforward. I don't really like any underdogs this week. But every week I give one out. I have to. I have to find something. It's a tough week for underdogs. I think there's a few teams that could surprise, right? It's just tough to pull the trigger and be 100% confident on it, right? You're taking a little bit of a risk when you're betting the underdogs. There's a reason they're underdogs, right? So a few I look at, right? I always look at, multiple throughout the week and then cut it down, right? So the Broncos, I kind of looked at, but then I was worried about the Steelers defense and a rookie QB. So that's out, right? You can't bet the Broncos here, even though they're at home, tough place to play. Steelers on the road again. Not a good spot for Pittsburgh, I get that. It's just Bo Nix at quarterback, the rookie against that defense. Can't do it. So Broncos cannot be the play. I'm going to have to go with a short one here, and it's going to be the Rams. You get that plus 105. They look good at times against Detroit, a very good team. I kind of like Arizona too, right? They look pretty good in that Bills game. It's a 50-50 type game. You're getting a little plus money on the Rams. Gonna have to look that way. I know Puka Nakua's out. They still got weapons there, though. They can run the ball down Arizona's throat as well to win that game. So if you give me a flip of a coin type of game, 50-50 type of game, Rams plus 105, sign me up. Again, don't love any underdogs this week. This will not be a client play. That will do it, guys. That will do it. Enjoy NFL Week 2. How fun was Red Zone? I know some of you guys watch Red Zone, some of you don't. I got the multiple TV setup with Red Zone on and my featured game of the week that I like to watch. Always pick my game I want to watch, and then the Red Zone on there. God, it's a good time to be alive, right? Can't ask for much more. NFL season is here. It's a busy time. Best time to get on board, guys. NFL, PGA, UFC. Right? My UFC and PGA numbers, just go look at them. They've been unreal all year. And long term, not just this year. If you guys have been following me for a long time, you know that, right? New clients or new viewers or listeners, I get it. You may not know, but I update everyone every week on here. You're not going to find that around the market. Most guys that do this, they don't tell you about their losses or update you guys their record and everything from week to week or keep stats, and there's a reason for that. Like I always say, guys, bet smart and know your limits. Enjoy NFL Week 2.